Red and black are the colours, and in this review we're looking at a big Mammoet Scania with K25 modules, a transformer and a power pack. Size does matter, and in this instance the model comes in quite a big box. And we will go ahead and open it up and see what's inside. After some packaging we pull out the first of a number of separate trays. And we keep on going and going, and there's also a manual that we'll look at soon. Here are the trays lined up, and we have one for the tractor, one for the power pack, 3 for the K25 modules, and 1 for the transformer. This model configuration doesn't represent anything real, as the trailer power assist in the model is an innovation. The manual starts with a list of parts, but somewhat strangely it refers to the transformer as a set of landing legs. After that there are a series of step-by-step photos to assemble the model. And these are okay, although there were some differences with the model and we'll see that later. But overall the manual is a nice quality inclusion. Also included with the model is a Mamutu collector card. And this is nice because it has a unique serial number. The trays are factory sealed, so let's see what's in them. We've got some work to do, so we'll start with the Scania and insert some mirrors. In addition to mirrors, we also have to add roof aerials, but these parts do not fit tightly in the preformed holes. We don't like gluing on cranes etc, so we used plastic putty to stick the parts in. At the back there's a towing hitch and there's a separate funnel and pin, and these go together nicely. For now we'll stick the pin in to make sure we don't lose it. Also included with the model is an optional fifth wheel to fit trailers with fatter kingpins. Lastly, in this stage we'll add on the fin ballast box, and that very likely clips into place. Next we need to join the modules together in the order shown in the manual, and we start by inserting the clips, which is best done with some pliers. With all 4 clips in we can push the modules together, and to make the final connection we flip them over, and there's a sliding bolt which joins them up. However, these were a very tough fit on the review model, and after a bit of work the sliding bolt can be pushed in. As you can see, because it's very tight, we're using a tool to make that connection. With all the modules joined together, the next step is to add the drawbar at the front, and that begins by screwing in the drawbar coupling. Next we can add in the drawbar adapter, and then we'll insert this sharp end tool to make sure it's all lined up correctly. Once that's done, it becomes easy to put the steel pin in, and as you can see, that's an easy fit. Now we can offer up the drawbar to the adapter, and again you want to make sure that all of the holes are properly lined up. The reason for that is that it then makes it easy to get in the very small steel pins. So this is one of the more tricky jobs for anybody with salami-sized fingers. There's a pin on each side which holds the drawbar securely, and the next job is another one that will challenge anybody with fat fingers. This time we have to extend and hook in the springs on the drawbar. And this is not really a job to try and do after you've had a few beers. Also included with the model is a drawbar linkage, and that would normally be used to make a direct connection between the drawbar and the steering mechanism on the axles. The manual doesn't show this, and it wouldn't be possible on the review model because of the way the steering linkages have been set. And it is a little bit odd because it seems to suggest in the manual, when you look closely at the pictures, that the internal steering bars should have been set differently. But for display purposes it's not necessary to make that connection. And the next job to do is to install the long tread plates which cover the access to the steering bars. That completes the assembly of the module, so now we just make the connection to the Scania. And that's easy to do with the drawbar going nicely into the towing hitch. And it's easy to then fix it by installing the pin. To complete the assembly we have 2 things to do, and the first is to add the power pack onto the ballast box on the Scania, and then we use the giant hand crane to install the big transformer onto the top of the modules. Scania tractor is actually made by Techno, and underneath it's reasonably detailed with the transmission parts made of plastic, and the tyres have a different tread pattern on the driven and steering axles. Up on top there's an impressive set of beacon lights and spotlights, and the Scania has a realistic number plate and signage. The chevrons and the lights on the front bumper look good. The steps up to the cab have a textured tread pattern and the wheels look very detailed. And the Mamutu graphics are sharp. Behind the cab there are coiled lines and the big cabinet looks very good, with the hinges and handles all detailed. The rear wheels look smart and there's a cabinet between the wheels. And there's a nice area of textured surface around the fifth wheel. The ballast box is a plastic part and it has sharp graphics. The big trailer power assist power pack is very detailed, and it's got some very nice grills and other details. Looking on the roof there are more nice grills and 2 exhaust stacks. The drawbar is a nicely detailed part, particularly with the Mamutu graphics on it. Perhaps one detail that is missing though is any kind of hydraulic connection between the power pack unit and the trailer. Looking underneath, the modules have a strong structure, and the axle components are modelled in metal. The wheels have different hubs for driven and non-driven axles. There's more tiny graphics, and the tread plates have a very detailed texture. The big transformer is a resin part with some plastic parts added on, and it is quite heavy. But most importantly, it actually looks good with lots of detailing. And that extends up onto the roof where there are lots of different types of hatch. One very pleasing part of this model is the way each of the separate Mamutu components has a unique fleet number. And there's also a different fleet number for each of the K25 modules. Now we'll have a quick look at some of the working parts on the model, and we'll start with the steering of the Scania. And as you can see, the steering linkage is a little bit loose, and the angle achieved is fairly restricted. If we drive along in a straight line it rolls reasonably well, but it's not so sure-footed when you set the steering, so it can't turn anything like a sharp angle. If you want to get in and carry out a bit of maintenance on the engine, you can tilt the cab forward. And there you can see it's got a large plastic single coloured engine. But a plus point is that the cab will pose tilted. Moving on to the K25 modules, and they are nicely engineered, with nice sprung suspension on each wheel set. There is also linked steering, and you can see it's proportional. And it's interesting also to look down from above and see all of the steering linkages working. The modules roll reasonably well in a straight line. And you can see there's a lot of height adjustment on the wheels, and I suppose it would be nice if you could set the axle heights. The drawbar is nice and springy, but the main plus point of this model is its impressive display, and as it's a big model, let's do a dim check and get the tape measure out and see how long it is. Measured end to end, the model is about 31 inches long or 78 centimetres. This is an impressive model by IMC of a Mamutu innovation, the trailer power assist. The quality of the model is very good, and there are some very pleasing details with some very good functionality. But size does matter, so if you want an impressive model, then this one is very good.